All right. Hello, friends. Welcome to Music Nation Speaks with me, Joe, where I use this platform to chat and learn from people who are passionate in what they do and authentic in who they are from all walks of life. So, before we get into today's conversation with our very special guest and a very special episode, something that I've been meaning to talk about, and it's very deeply. I'm very, very interested in, and it's quite personal as well. A little bit of housekeeping to do as per usual. Okay, so Music Nation is now offering a package of 12 sessions for singing and songwriting. So sessions will be done online and they'll be conducted by none other than yours truly. So the cool thing about these sessions is that you can do them anytime. So it doesn't have to be weekly. So if you want to write or sing 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, welcome to do so as long as we can get in touch with each other and on each other's schedules. All right, so if you'd like to do those sessions, please DM us on Instagram, Facebook, or send us an email to sign up today and get started on your music journey. All right, so without further ado, let me bring up today's very special guest, the lovely, the amazing Ruth Chua.
Hello.
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 Officially hello, online hello. So before
Yeah.
before we get started, thank you again for agreeing to do this. We haven't actually met in person yet, but from the first meeting, you've been super super helpful and super kind, and you carve out your time for me. So thank you very much for doing this.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So before we start, how are you doing, and how have you been doing as as a person, but also as a therapist?
I think I've been doing great. I think just that, as with all other people, I think after the lockdown and everything, just really busy. So
Yeah.
I think that self care is quite an important one for me. Like having boundaries around work time and such things like that. But otherwise, I think doing quite well.
I need to learn that
Yeah.
from you.
How about
Same.
you?
I guess oh, such a loaded question, isn't it? Like our
Hmm.
default response is to say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm good." But like one thing that I've been learning to do is be a bit more open and be a bit more honest, especially when I meet my students or older students, especially like when they ask me like, how are you, how was your week, usually you'll be
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm fine, let me leave my emotions at the door, so that I can meet
Yeah.
them where they are. But what I find very conducive has been just to be like, oh, this week has been really hard, or I've been struggling with
Hmm.
reopening, and things like that, and I could see that their face softens and they meet me where I am, so that we could, instead of them being here and I have to meet them here right away, they
Mm.
come, I'm here, they come down a little bit, and then I can meet them here, and then we jalan together.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Power. Yeah.
trial and error. Otherwise, I feel like, like that boundary thing that you were talking about, like
Mm.
one, saying no is super, super hard, but two, also like, um, it's very emotionally and mentally exhausting to always like
Definitely.
on, and my personality
Yeah.
is on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you display the power of vulnerability when you do that as well to create that conducive environment.
Yeah, and yeah, and yeah, huh? Vulnerability. Right.
Hmm.
Never put that word together, because for music also, it takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to, especially singing, to open up your voice, to hearing your voice for the first time, to explore different voices.
Mm.
Oh, I never put two and two. Ha! I'm learning so much already. All right, so let's jump right into it. Just now we chit chatted a little bit,
Mm.
and I would love to dive deeper into our topics as we
Yes.
get through our questions. So, why did you decide to become a licensed counselor?
I think growing up, I used to read a lot of books on like Holocaust and books on like World War and stuff like that. I know it's quite dark, I think. But for some strange reason, I read a lot of like, autobiographies, biographies, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I think from a young age, I was always very curious, what makes like two perhaps very similar people, if they go through the same thing, but both of them could come out of this very difficult thing with very, very different results. Like maybe
Outlook.
I might have PTSD after a war, but someone else is just bounces back, right?
Right.
So I think, yeah, that kind of always like really interested me, like, what makes people tick, essentially.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting that I've never I never thought it would be. But where did you get access to those kinds of materials or like books?
Um, I used to go to a library in Penang. It's in the Penang Sports Club, and so every Sunday I'll go there with my family. And I think when I was younger, I was only allowed like maybe two books or something like that. And then the older I grew, I was allowed more books. So, and I was pretty much given free reign. I don't know,
Mm.
maybe from 12, 13. I felt like I almost skipped the teenage phase of like reading, like, what's that?
Fantasy.
Goosebumps
Yeah.
or stuff like that.
Yeah. Or like true Singaporean ghost stories, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, 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 yeah. I remember seeing those books in my school library, but I never really read it because I always had like, I don't know, one of the deeper, darker books with me.
The more adult books lah.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
But what do you think besides, wondering how, besides being intrigued and being interested in how people turn out or how our brains
Mm,
work, right? Like,
mm,
what other aspects do those like war stories like intrigued you or captured you? Because like one of the what was it? One of my favorite authors, his name is Mark Manson.
Oh, okay. The subtle art of.
Of not
Oh,
giving
okay,
an
okay.
F.
Right. I don't think I've read it before.
Oh, I mean, his books are okay, but I like his articles and his the articles on his apps and things like that. I find it quite helpful. Yeah, it's like no
Okay.
bullshit lah, straight away lah. Like he understands
Uh,
us millennial very well.
okay.
Yeah, so he actually talked a little bit about not the survivors, but he talked about Hitler himself, how he was a failed art
Mm,
student and the psychology behind him and what he does in a way that, as a head of the Nazis, I guess, like he was, quote unquote successful because, from a failed art student, he convinced the whole nation that another group of people is evil, right? So
yeah.
yeah, he dove deep into the psychology of Hitler, lah, basically. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, that was really intriguing for me. But what about you, though? Like, what about the war stories that really, or like books
Mm,
like that?
right. I think I'm usually very intrigued by like their resilience. I think one story that particularly stood out to me also, this wasn't a war story, but this was the Chinese Cinderella, I think by Adeline Yan Ma, if I'm correct. I think like how she overcame very, very adverse childhood trauma, if I can say
Mm.
so. So I think it's I think what intrigues me is really like how people overcome the things that they are put through, and it just really makes me believe that everybody is capable of like
Doing.
going through hard things and still succeeding even when we feel like I'm going to die, I can't do this,
Right.
but I really think that people can, and I believe that, and I think I'm blessed to with the opportunity to journey with people through that, and
Right.
sometimes see them with their through their breakthrough.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
beautiful. And be a witness to that, right?
yeah, Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I get the same feeling when my students succeed or they get good grades or they perform really well. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, I have a part in that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what a little bit more personal stuff here.
Mm.
Just melayanging lah. Were there any hardships during your childhood? You know that you have had to overcome, or even as an adult, like
Mm.
that you have had to overcome, and were there people around you to help you through that?
I think very recently, hardship wise, was
Mm.
trying to finish a master's during COVID season. I think that was, can I say, the
Did
most recent hardship.
oh, did you finish it? Did you do it?
Oh, definitely. I definitely have to finish it to be licensed. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today.
Oh, right, right.
Yes.
Congratulations!
Thank
That's
you. Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. And what were some of the difficulties that you faced, like with yeah, during
Um.
the your master's program?
Right. I think the fact that our government was very slow to um allow online counseling hours. So basically, in your masters, you need to collect a certain amount of hours, and it needs
Yeah.
to be like verified by a few people, like essentially.
Right.
And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I think during the first lockdown, March 2020,
Right.
so obviously I was still doing my internship, and I was due to finish by June 2020 or July 2020, something like that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so we were told that just continue online lah, because your clients need you, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially, so we all moved online. And I collected about a quarter of my hours online. So a quarter
Oh,
of like the required total, right?
right.
And then by May, I think we were still in lockdown by May. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. We were told that, oh, the Lembaga Council Malaysia doesn't recognize it.
Huh?
Um, yes, yes,
After you've done that
yeah,
already?
yeah. So yes, you can imagine my shock. Like I completed a quarter. I thought I only had this amount left to graduate,
Yeah.
right? But now it's like added on as well. So I think there was definitely that shock, and I think
Mm,
there was a struggle, and there was a lot of anger. I think about like why weren't we told earlier, blah 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 blah
yeah.
blah. But I think like learning from the stories that I've also read in my past. So I think the minute it opened up and we were allowed to go back in person, I think I just really just I think I took May off. I think I took May off to like process it, and then in June to like I think August or September, I just really pushed all the way. Like I just saw as many people as I could,
Mm,
because I had already cleared up my thesis part anyway, so I was quite free like in that sense. So I
right.
just really like yeah, I just put in my all essentially.
Right.
And yeah, I was like, I think I was the first to finish my hours in my cohort. Not that I'm bragging, but I I think that's essentially what I've learned from all the books that I've read, right? Because like I believe that you can do it even if it's really hard. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. Oh, congratulations. A
thank
for
you.
effort and A for time management.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy. I wouldn't recommend anybody finishing their masters in the pandemic or yeah, it's hard.
I feel you. Like my dad kept nagging me because I'm actually enrolled in Masters for Music Education at UM as well.
Oh yeah,
I at this point I'm just gonna chill first.
yeah,
I cannot
yeah.
lah. Like I need that, even online teaching, I miss that whole one-on-one interaction. Moreover,
Mm.
doing homework. And then people keep telling me, oh, it's the best time to do it because you're not going out and things like that. And in my mind, I'm like, it's actually the worst time to do it just because I'm not going out and I'm not stimulated. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I think with certain courses that require a lot of practical work, I think online is a bit difficult, and I think people don't really acknowledge that, because I do agree you have more free time, blah blah blah, but
Yeah.
I think with practical stuff, just a bit harder, I
Mm.
think.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in your personal opinion, which one do you prefer, online or face to face?
I think I speak for all therapists. I think generally we all are trained for face to face and prefer face to face. But I'm also thankful, I guess, for the pandemic in that sense. And I know it can sound very privileged, but I think with the pandemic, I have had the opportunity to have clients from, different parts of Malaysia, different parts of the world. I think
Yeah.
something that I would never have thought of if the pandemic didn't happen and if I didn't venture into online. Yeah.
Yeah. So it opened up
So
another door, right?
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
virtual world.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so diving deeper into, your profession, are there
Mm,
any differences between, okay, because let's make this clear, right? You are
yeah.
a therapist and you are a talk therapist.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. I do talk therapy, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, because I
Mm.
am a noob at this. All the
Okay.
information I got is just from Instagram scrolling, and we think that, we are pros now, like
Yeah.
a web MDB or something. Is it yeah, for like medical stuff. So, what are
Uh,
some of the differences between, like, a counselor or a psychiatrist and maybe a psychotherapist? Could you
uh,
uh, give us the breakdown for
okay,
each? Yeah,
okay,
and what do they do?
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, a psychiatrist is somebody who has a basic medical degree and then they specialize in psychiatry. So because they have the basic medical degree, they are licensed to give you medication. So
So they can
na-
prescribe you drugs.
correct, correct. And naturally, they would deal with a lot more, I guess, severe cases. So cases that need medication. So like schizophrenia, bipolar, because you need mood stabilizers for that. So
Right.
they deal with a lot more like hallucinations, delusions, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Um,
Like
and
chemical
natural.
imbalance in the brain, that kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes, yes, definitely. So you generally find them in hospitals, but nah, they don't really do talk therapy. So what I've heard from some clients is that their sessions with the psychiatrist can be very brief, almost like going to a doctor. They ask you how are your symptoms, do
Mm.
you feel better, blah blah blah. Okay, increase dosage, stay the same dosage, or whatever. Um,
Ah,
so maybe they won't go in depth into, I guess, your life story and stuff like that.
right.
So with psychologists,
Yeah.
clinical psychologists, they can diagnose you. So they do like IQ tests, or if
Ah,
I wonder if I have adult ADHD, that kind of thing. That's who you would go to, like a clinical psychologist, to go do the test, like, essentially to get diagnosed.
right.
They don't prescribe medication. So basically, a clinical psychologist is someone that does a bachelor in psychology or applied sciences, that kind of
Mm.
thing, and then they do a master's in clinical psychology.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right. So
Chu-
then they become clinical psychologists.
right,
To
and that's what you are.
no, so then I'm in the third category. So
Okay.
yes, so in the third category where the counselors come in, we do a bachelor of like psychology or applied sciences, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go into a master's of counseling. So in my case, I did mine at Monash, so masters of professional counseling. So then you come out as a licensed and registered counselor who does talk therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a psychologist don't do talk therapy.
Right. So clinical psychologists and counselors, both of them do talk therapy. So that's the overlap there. It's just that for clinical psychologists, they can diagnose you, whereas counselors, they can't diagnose you. Um, but
But you can
generally,
do referrals.
yes, we all can do referrals. Yes.
I
Correct.
understand.
Mm.
Now it's so much clearer. So,
Yeah.
it when okay, so for example, I would
Mhm.
let's say, if I do have, a severe case of schizophrenia or
Mm.
bipolar,
Mm.
or yeah, maybe hmm, yeah, those kind of, is it fair to call them symptoms, or is it a condition?
Yeah. See, they have if they have symptoms of bipolar, then they would have the condition of having bipolar.
Understand. Okay, so
Yeah.
if I have those, then I would go to a hospital, and then first step would be to get diagnosed by the psychologist first, and then
Yes.
okay, and then
Yeah.
go for the psychiatry, go to the
Yeah.
psychiatrist to get prescribed.
Medication. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You also can get a diagnosis from the psychiatrist directly. So basically, clinical psychologists and psychiatrists can diagnose you. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, understand. But
Yeah.
isn't that a little because from what you mentioned
Confusing.
also, well, now it's a lot clearer, but
Yeah.
for psychiatrists to not dive as deep into
Mm.
you and then to
Mm.
prescribe you drugs, isn't that a little hmm in my
Uh,
opinion?
yeah, I mean, I think in the Asian context, we are all very pill driven, if I can say so. Like, take this so that I'm healed, right? Um, so I think that if I'm feeling anxious, heart palpitations, everything, I
Yeah.
can just go to a psychiatrist and he will just prescribe me Xanax. However, having said that, I probably would have muted symptoms,
Yes.
like my symptoms might be more muted, but um, I'm
Underlying.
correct. I'm still not dealing with the underlying issues, and that's when sometimes we do um, together. So like I do have clients who see a psychiatrist for their medication while I'm seeing them weekly to manage like the underlying to figure out what are the thought patterns that we need to change, what's not working, right? So
Right.
usually for like bipolar, anxiety, if I really need medication, it's best to have a psychiatrist to watch your medication and to also go for talk therapy essentially.
Understand. So they, for best outcome, hand in hand, both.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Understand. Yeah, I used to be one of those, like, oh, if you're sick or if you don't feel well or if you, just take medicine, lah, like just you cure it, because we didn't
Yeah,
have that the our mindset is okay, take medicine to cure your sickness. That's it. But as we dive
yeah.
deeper into it, there's so many nuances and so many, because humans are so complex, right? So
Hmm.
now we know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, think of it also as like, if I have cancer, I'm not just taking medication. I need to change my lifestyle.
Yes.
That should be the same way with like a mental condition, right? That means there's something that needs to be addressed, not
Yeah.
just medication wise, but so not just chemotherapy or whatever, but I need to change my lifestyle, maybe my
Yeah.
thought patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then what you put in your body, are you getting
Yeah,
enough exercise? Are you getting
yeah,
your, what's it called, endorphins going?
yeah, definitely, yes, yeah.
Understand. So
Mhm.
moving on, right? You mentioned a little bit just now, to become a licensed and registered counselor, you have to take master's master's degree, right?
Yes,
It's called a master's
yes,
degree. Okay, I'm
yes.
very bad at these terminologies also.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm not great at it either. Yeah.
Other people what MD lah for masters in business or something, and then like anyways, so
Yeah.
a little bit about your journey into becoming a mental health therapist. So
Mm.
besides masters is the final stage, so at what point did you really like, yes, I am going to pursue becoming a therapist?
Uh,
I'm, yeah, and how was the journey towards that?
Right. Okay. I don't know how far back you want to go, but I remember my mom said that when I was younger, I
Yeah.
did express interest in being a psychiatrist. But
Mm.
then as I grew older, I realized like my maths is so bad. There's no way I'll get into medical school nor figure
Same.
out chemical compounds. Yeah. So then I narrowed it to psychology, right? So then
Mm.
I went to pursue my bachelor's in applied sciences, majoring in psychology. And I think in my fourth year in Australia, I had this lecturer
Mm.
who lectures and also worked as a counselor in Australia to people in jail.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. How was
yeah.
that?
Really interesting. I really enjoyed her class. I mean,
Mm.
she was she was young,
Mm.
but really, really like interesting classes, really vibrant, and I think that really sparked my interest, right? Because I think with psychology, you can go anywhere. You can do HR, you can go to corporate, you endless. Like we end up everywhere, right? So
Yes.
so I think
It's such a
I
useful
didn't.
degree. I wish I took it.
Yeah, so I think like most psychology graduates, like we sometimes don't know like where do I want to end up, right? So I
Yeah.
think after her class, I really like it really piqued my interest that maybe masters is something that I wanted to do.
Mm.
But however, I came back. I ended up as a teacher for special needs. So I took a break for a while,
Mm.
but then I ended up with a job as a school counselor at an international school. Yeah, so weird
Ah.
now that I think about it because I don't think that's even legal right now.
Oh, really? Why
Yeah,
not?
because I didn't have a master, so technically I would say that I didn't know enough, right?
Mm.
I really enjoyed my job there.
Right.
I
But you
felt
weren't
like
equipped enough.
yes, I definitely felt like I wasn't equipped enough, and I was the
Mm.
only school counselor. So, I mean, I think
For
I
the whole
tried my
school?
yeah, yes. Yeah, so I was really thankful I had that lecturer. So I think I had the basics at the very least, but definitely not enough, not enough, right?
Ah.
So yeah, so that was a further indication because I enjoyed it, but I felt so unequipped, and I felt like okay, this is an indication that I should do my masters,
Mm.
and so I did juggle between I think clinical psychology and
Mm.
counseling.
Yeah.
And I figured like to diagnose people again, you need a lot of math skills because it's like yeah, you like for the IQ test it's like crazy, right?
Right. A lot
Yeah,
of what
so
is called quantitative
correct.
thing, right? Yeah.
And I was, yeah, it just wasn't my cup of tea. I think my maths just isn't great. And I enjoy the talk therapy. So
Mm.
why force my way through like learning how to diagnose when like it
When
required maths.
right, and at the end
Yeah,
of the day, you're also doing this almost the same thing as
correct. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
So that's how I ended up with my masters and now practicing. Yeah.
Yay! Good job!
Thank
Congratulations!
you. It's
And
been
has
long journey.
I was about to say, has it been a long journey? And has
Yeah.
it's getting where you are today. Like having your own practice ish.
Mm.
A budding practice,
Yeah.
and having your own clients, and
Mm.
finishing up your masters.
Mm.
Does it does it feel like you thought it would, or how? Yeah.
I guess I didn't think it would take me this long. Yeah, I guess I didn't expect to maybe work for as long as I did back then.
Oh, how long did you
Um,
take off in between?
Maybe about 3.5 years before I decided to do my masters. I mean, not that long in the big, massive scale of things. but yeah, I
Mm,
don't know. I thought I would have been done with my masters like earlier, but not
mm,
that I'm complaining, but
mm.
yeah, I guess life took turns and good turns because without the school counseling job that I have no idea how I got in, I wouldn't have known that this is really what I wanted to do.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I feel definitely, like for me, so I came back and then like, okay lah, my dad asked me to go study more. Okay lah, I go. And then now after almost 3.5 years break also, of
Mm,
working and doing my own thing. Okay, is this something that I really, really want to do? Yes. Yeah, so
mm,
now I'm
mm.
applying lah to other schools, other
Yeah.
environment, hopefully, and finish it.
Oh, the best.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully lah,
Yeah.
to make my dad proud.
Yeah. I mean, I think passion does carry you through postgraduate studies for sure. Interest does.
Definitely, and something that I'm writing. What was it? Part of the application is statement of intent, statement of interest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, how did your working experience
Mm.
contribute? How is it going to contribute to the program and blah blah blah." So I figured if you jump straight from degree into masters,
Mm.
what can you bring to the program, and also what do you want to gain after, right?
Yeah.
If you go at it blindly, I feel so.
Yeah.
So yeah lah. I mean, I'm just finding excuses for myself lah. Why I took such a long time.
Well, no, I mean, I think some people function differently, right? Like some
Oh,
people need the practical experience to really think that I can do this. Some people maybe just, they don't need like further reasons of why they want to do this. They just want to be there. So gotta do what you gotta do then, I guess.
I understand. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be studying again, like the whole reason of choosing music is so that I don't have to study anymore. But then I started teaching. I'm like, oh yeah, I need more. I feel under equipped.
Yeah.
I feel like a fraud. Let me go gain more knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes
Yeah.
it's quite normal to feel like a fraud. Like, I mean, even with a master's now, there are still times where I'm still very honest and I say,
Mm.
maybe this is not something that I can deal with, and I'll refer you off to somebody I feel is better equipped. So I think it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a fraud. It just means that you know where your capacity is at, which is important for you know to not actually be a fraud.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. I wish I could put things the way that you did. Like, you make so much sense. Yeah, because the whole like imposter syndrome has been, weighing quite
Mm.
heavily. And I started teaching quite young, and
Um,
when I was 24, 25. So like at a university somewhere. So I'm like only a couple years older than my students. Like, what the hell am I doing here?
well, I think we all learn somewhere.
Definitely. And without
Yeah.
those experiences, I feel like, I guess the same, like it wouldn't push me to want to learn more, to be more, and to serve others better in
Yeah.
what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving on, I'm so sorry.
Mm.
I'm Malayang Kauka.
That's fine.
So let's talk a little bit about Malaysians, being Malaysians, and our
Mm.
stigma against therapy. So we were talking a little bit just now beforehand, and you mentioned that stigma, th- well, psychology and or um, therapy or
Mm.
mental health is actually quite political. Can you um, uh, expand more on that, and what are your
Right.
opinions on it?
The reason why I say therapy is political is because
Mhm.
I think I think what we see every day is it comes from somewhere. It comes from like the Malaysian government, or
Yeah.
people decide what we see out there, or how certain mental illnesses are portrayed and stuff like that. And I think it's also political because I think in other countries it's very okay to have your counselor write you, if you're an employer, a letter to your boss saying like maybe you need a break because you're stressed. Whereas here, I
Mm.
think you only get it from a medical doctor. I don't.
Ah,
It's not as accepted like from a counselor or clinical psychologist. If I'm not mistaken, I think it holds more power if it's a psychiatrist, medical doctor again, right? Um, and I think it's also political because in Malaysia, therapy isn't covered by insurance, whereas in other countries, it is. Although the argument then is also that with insurance, there's a lot of like red tape, which I also agree. So with insurance, sometimes it limits the amount of sessions you can have. But
ah.
I think that
But isn't that better
even
than nothing?
correct. So even if it does limit the amount of sessions you can have, at least you had this, I don't know, X number, and then
Yeah.
you can choose to continue depending on your financial status or whatever. But I think at the very least you had it, right?
Yeah, you get
Even
one
if it
foot
wasn't.
in the door
Yeah,
first. Yeah.
correct. So I think that all these systems that's been put in place, the fact that therapy isn't covered by insurance, um, and like it's very hard to take time off to see my therapist during working hours. I can't just like replace it later in the day or whatever. I think all these are barriers to mental health and
Yeah.
and further stigmatizes the people who experience such things. Yeah.
Right, right. And then, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And what are some of the ways, that you think, well, okay, let's take a step back. Let's
Mm,
instead of making it macro, let's go to micro first, right? So for you
yeah.
personally, what are some of the, you know, um the before and after, a new client walks in, and then
Mm-hmm.
have you experienced, like, after maybe a few sessions with you, and then they're like, oh,
Mm.
actually I thought therapy was like this, but actually now, I feel differently about it. I was, a bit skeptical beforehand, or and then, yeah, are there stories like that?
Oh, definitely. I hear that all the time because I think therapy is still something that everybody's just getting used to,
Mm.
especially the younger crowd, if I can say so.
Yeah.
So definitely, and there's always this statement that says like, oh, why talk to a therapist if you can talk to a friend? Like a friend is still talking anyways, and I
Mhm.
think people don't know the benefits of it until they do talk to a therapist, and
Yeah.
then they can see the benefits for themselves.
Right.
So yes, I always hear that statement, that I'm the therapist I never knew I needed, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I think it should be encouraged. I think
Mm.
to at least give it a try if you feel like you're stuck, or just really struggling and just in a hard place. I think.
Definitely. Oh, I have so
Yeah.
much questions now, in terms of, okay, then let's start from there. Why? Okay, let me play devil's advocate a little bit, lah, huh? So
Mm,
let's say I'm the person. Yeah, you can talk to your friends.
mm,
It's same thing. What, it's like talk. You're still talking. Yeah.
mm,
Maybe your friends know you better. They know your situation better. They can offer you better advice. So, what are some of the
mm.
benefits of talking to a? I mean, sorry, I hit my mic.
That's okay.
Talking to a. I mean, I know this. Like, yeah, but why should people approach a therapist, even if they have,
Ah,
like a good support system, they have close
right.
friends? Yeah.
Right. I think that a therapist would view you very objectively, and I think we are trained to know how much to push and when to also not push. So I think with friends, while I agree they might know you a lot better than I would, um, because they know you, sometimes I think they don't view you as objectively, and they
Yeah,
might
the
know your
lens.
trigger points. So I don't want to trigger you. I'm just going to only tell you things that I think you'll be okay hearing. Whereas I think as a therapist, I I mean, people pay me maybe to tell you things that maybe is really hard to hear, but not
Yeah.
that I'm going to do it in a really harsh way. I have to gauge how ready you are
Right.
for change to ensue, right? Yeah,
Right. Ah,
yeah.
yes. I really agree with the whole viewing you objectively.
Mm.
Yeah, because sometimes also like with with music also like other people, like a friend be like, oh yeah, we think we sound amazing, but then when other people come in, they're like, hey, you sound like shit like actually. Can you
Oh,
practice or do it properly? But because it's objective, and it's constructive criticism, it can be
yeah,
worded better, but it still helps us, whereas our own friends, they want to protect us, they want to jaga hati a bit,
yeah,
so
perhaps.
balance of that I feel is good, have people who would
Mm.
jaga your hati and people who would give you constructive criticism so that you grow.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I wouldn't undermine the power of having community. I definitely think having a supportive community is very important.
Yes.
It's just that I think it should go in hand. Obviously, if you feel better, you can manage on your own, then, by all means, please, like, we can terminate and stuff and
Yeah.
get the support from your community. It's just that some things like I think it's just a bit harder. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Every time I
Yeah.
go down a spiral, I'm like, maybe I should call somebody already. Now that I know you, I'll be like, okay, Ruth. Okay, so when to seek help now? Like if
Right.
um I I I do know, I mean this is something very recent, so like
Mm,
as I know everybody is not perfect, and we all have our issues to deal with.
mm,
And when does a person, okay, there's two sides that we can go on from here, right?
mm,
From ourselves, when should we seek help for
mm-hmm,
ourselves? And
mm-hmm,
the second one would be if we see our loved ones struggling but they don't say
mm,
anything, like
mm,
how, how, and there's a saying like it's hard to help people who don't want to help themselves or don't know how to help themselves, right? So
yeah.
the part two would be like if we see our loved ones struggling, how should we approach them, or how should we get them to seek help? So there's
Right.
two.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Um, for starters, I think with our loved ones, I would definitely say never force it on them,
Mm,
because that's just it doesn't end well, right? So I've
mm,
had parents who've like forced their kids to come and see me, and it's usually like I'm talking to a blank wall because they don't want to be here. So definitely every time I get a referral from a parent, I always ask them if their child actually really wants to see somebody, right? So
right.
I think that's very important. Even if you do feel like somebody needs help, I think it's important to come from a standpoint like, what do you need? What would you feel like you need? How can we help? And for them to slowly be okay with actually even wanting to talk to someone externally, right? Because they have to come to terms with it first.
Yes.
Um, so I think that's really important for loved ones. I guess for personally, I think if you have been noticing that you have been struggling with a repeated pattern
Such as.
frequently, or I guess I think one that comes to mind is like maybe if I keep dating um,
Assholes.
unavailable men. Uh,
Sorry.
yeah,
Just
no,
put it
that's
out
fine.
there.
I think then maybe I think that I think that not that anything is wrong with you per se, but then I think that there's something that's not being addressed, that maybe that's why you feel like this is how love should be, or something like that. So it could be like those patterns, or it could be like
Right.
if I constantly find myself struggling with the same thing. So like I feel like I'm not enough. I get the promotion, I still feel like I'm not enough. I get the next promotion, I still feel like I'm not enough. So where is this not enough feeling coming from? What is enough, right? So and I
Yeah.
think that requires a very deep dive sometimes to really clarify what enough is, what am I looking for in life. And I think this is really hard stuff to go through it by yourself, right? It's
Oh
so
yeah.
uncomfortable. I probably wouldn't want to go through it by myself. And I think that's when a therapist might come helpful, because at least we can plan out the steps for you. We can journey with you through it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh,
friends probably could, but so again, it depends on the severity of it, right? So
right. I
yeah.
agree with the friends thing, but I feel like they're lacking the tools to help you,
Yes.
like just
Yeah.
like a friend could teach you music as well, but a proper music educator could give you the
Mm.
steps, the best path for you to
Yeah.
succeed.
Yeah, correct. I mean, a friend might just say, do this
Do
lah,
this lah.
then yeah. But how do I even get to doing it? How do I make that first step?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I completely understand and completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like one of the reasons why I got so interested in counseling, in therapy, and a lot of self
Mm.
help actually. And it's such difficult work. It's like looking. You have to look. It's like your face is full of pimples, and then you have to look in the mirror and count each one of them. Go through it like really look at yourself and doing the work, right,
Mm.
of like
Mm.
cleaning cleaning your face and applying the right kind of moisturizer, applying the right kind of
Mm.
serum and things like that, right? So
Yeah.
like um for me, self-help is really really important because if I as an educator, if I don't take care of my own poop,
Mm.
it's
Mm.
going to overflow to my students and they are
Correct.
not going to benefit anything, especially
Right.
in the field of music. So
Mm.
what got me into it was yeah, really just wanting to be a better teacher and to serve out to be worthy of the money that I'm receiving from my students.
Right. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's the same for therapists as well. Most therapists have their own
Yeah.
therapists, or at the very least, have peer supervision. So, at least we're also
Oh.
ensuring we're taking care of our poop, so to speak.
Yes, and keeping each other accountable ish, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's so
yeah.
nice. So you guys have like a community of therapists?
Yeah, yeah. And that's important, so that, we don't end up, it's so easy that there's so many gray areas in therapy sometimes. And
Right.
I think supervision, having your own therapist, ensuring, like, you have outlets, because like you said, everybody has issues. Therapists have their own issues that we need to sort through, otherwise, again, it bleeds out into the sessions.
Oh yes, definitely. Kena
Mm.
if my mood is bad, you kena lah.
Yeah.
I always tell my students like I never schedule anything before 12 because one, I'm not awake. Two, if my mood is bad, you will kena. so are there different types of counseling sessions? So they are what you're doing
Mm.
is talk therapy. Is there
Yeah.
any other kind? Like I know one a CBT, cognitive
uh,
behavioral.
Therapy.
Yes, and
Yes,
then there's a
yes.
yeah, and then what I am internal family
Systems.
somethings. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
IFS. Yeah.
So essentially, all these are just different theories, or different practices of talk therapy. So,
Oh,
so for me personally, I do CBT as my main one, but I occasionally would branch out into acceptance and commitment therapy, or even choice theory. So, yeah, so
sounds so
essentially,
cool.
yeah. So I think it just really depends on, like, what the client needs, what you think the client needs, right? So
Right.
so obviously, with internal family systems, it's really like, talking to different parts of yourself, resolving different parts of yourself, and stuff like that. So essentially, I wouldn't say it's different types of talk therapy. I think it's all talk therapy, just maybe different ways of doing it.
I understand different methods, law.
Yes, correct, correct. Yeah.
Okay, so
Mm.
talk therapy is the big umbrella, and then underneath
Yes.
there's different branches, but
Yeah.
the end goal is still the same, to help you
Yeah.
feel better
Yeah.
at the end
Yes, yes.
and
Help you
resolve your issues.
manage. Yes, yes, correct.
Understand. Okay, okay. So can we kind of, walk through
Mm.
how does a session with you look like? So
Ah,
when, let's say I had a referral from somebody else, or I'm like, okay, I'm really struggling. I know I need to reach out. Okay, I finally accepted that I need to reach out. Let me,
yeah.
talk to Ruth. So I will message you. I'll be like, hi
Mm.
Ruth, I'm Joe. Da 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 da. Can we set up
Yeah.
an appointment? That kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
and then I get through the door, or I'm meeting you
Mm.
online. So how would
Mm.
like the first few sessions look like?
Okay. So in the first few sessions, maybe
Mm,
first session,
mm,
it's generally really me getting to know you, because if I don't know you, it's hard to even plan out anything, right? So generally, first to second session, I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know what's your story. I'm getting
mm,
to know what you're struggling with, right? And also, I think what's really important in a therapeutic relationship is always rapport. So
mm,
we are really building rapport here in the first few sessions, so that
yeah.
more things, you feel more comfortable to tell me more things
Yes.
later on, right?
Yes.
And after that, so subsequent sessions would be more application, but
Mm,
application in the sense that how ready are you to do this certain thing? So for
mm.
example, let's say I feel like I need to build boundaries with family, and like boundaries alone sounds like so massive and like hard, and I don't know
Building
what this is.
walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. So then we can like discuss what are boundaries, and then what part of boundaries do I feel like I can apply, can I start with, right? So
Mm,
therapy is never forced. If you ever feel forced, I think you should talk to your therapist about that,
right.
because therapy is usually a collaborative effort, right, to
Mm,
achieve the goals you want to achieve.
right.
Yeah, so
Understand.
that's how I guess sessions with me would look like.
Right. So, and it's done within an hour kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, 50 to
Um,
60 minutes generally.
understand. So this
Mm.
is another personal question, right? So,
Mm.
um, uh, we talked about, uh, having sessions with students or with clients, like one on one, like that.
Mm. Mm.
And it can be, for me personally, I only cap it to like maybe like four, maximum five a day.
Mm.
Otherwise,
Mm.
I am very, very tired. I'm not physically tired, but like mentally tired, because I give like
Correct.
110%. I
Yeah.
have to be on, when
Mm.
I'm with
Mm.
my student. So
Yeah.
how do you feel the same way? And what are some of the ways for you to
Mm.
manage it?
Right. I definitely relate to that because I strive to give my 100% of my attention. So,
Yeah,
and I'm very intentional with that. So, I
yeah,
definitely don't do more than what my capacity is.
yeah.
And I try to at least give myself half an hour to an hour break in between every session that I have. So I think in the US, like one of the therapy books I was reading, if you, I think they only get 10 minutes between
Huh?
sessions. Yeah, yeah.
Then how to
And
detox and decompress?
man, I don't know. I haven't figured that part out. That's why I'm still at 30 to an hour. Yeah, so I think yeah, there's one book I think that I was reading. Maybe you should talk to someone. Can't remember the author's name, but from
Mm,
what I remember, it was almost as if like the author, who
mm,
is a therapist, had 10 minutes in between
sessions.
sessions, and I was just a bit like, wow,
Well,
don't think I
it's
could do that.
either, yeah, it's either they're superhuman, that they can like decompress super quick, or they have to be super detached from the session, or which is not beneficial from for both of them.
I feel like maybe you could build stamina. I
True.
don't know. Yeah, I think you could build stamina. But at the same time, I think that most of us, I wouldn't say detached is bad, but
Mm.
we aren't supposed to be
Attached.
too attached, anyways, because then if I'm so into you and your story, it's hard for me as a therapist to help you zoom out of the situation as well.
True, true,
Yeah,
true.
so there's a saying for it which it escapes my mind right now, but
Right.
it's something about something that kind of bridges, like we are attached and attentive, but we are also trying to balance being detached so that we can actually, guide you through this process as well, support you through
Right.
this process, rather than being sucked in together into your
And
emotions
then
and stuff.
two also have to I imagine like
Yeah,
two drowning person trying to attach
correct,
to the
correct.
same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I understand. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about that aspect. One, I get so
Mm.
emotionally invested in my students also. And then
Mm.
yeah, I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So well then another personal thing. I
Mm.
know that going for therapy, it is, a client and what's it called? Uh confidential
Yeah,
patient
privacy
confident.
and confidentiality.
That one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. But what are some of the okay, so
Hmm.
during this you started doing more one-on-one, like uh during the pandemic, right? So what are some of the more common themes or common issues that
Mm.
you find that you've heard from your clients?
Ah,
Yeah.
the funny thing is, I always thought that I wanted to try out any and everything under the sun. But from
Mm.
the minute I started my practicum, so that's like when I was still like studying, right, before
Mm.
internship, um, I've always gotten females who are anxious. So,
Oh.
so I've been dealing with female anxiety since 2018. Was it
Huh?
2018? Sorry, 2019. 2019.
Because you're so chill, Ruth.
So I mean, and I think with the pandemic, it's become a lot more apparent as well. Like how do I balance anxiety? Like, is it okay? How anxious can I be? Obviously, everybody's anxious about going out and stuff like that also.
Yeah.
But am I going to allow anxiety to just keep me at home, or like how can I balance that? So I don't know. I feel like that's the common theme I've been getting.
Yeah.
Don't know about other therapists out there, but females
Mm.
anxiety has seemed to be something that I frequently find myself working with and works well for me.
Right. So from there, right, and I
Mhm.
relate to the female and also to the anxiety.
I mean, males have anxiety as well. I just don't
They deal
attract
with
as
it differently, lah. Yeah,
yeah.
or they don't show it, right? Or yeah. So, what are some of the ways, to if you could at the top of a head, or very
Mm,
simple ways, simple steps for for yeah, for people in general, who are feeling very uncertain, who are
mm,
very anxious about um staying home, or even wanting to go out, or when will this end,
mm,
that kind of thing.
yeah,
What are some of the uh tips,
yeah,
for to calm ourselves down at home, that we can do ourselves to remind ourselves that, hey,
right.
yeah.
I think the top thing of my mind when you said about uncertainty with the pandemic, um, I think oftentimes we find it very hard to accept uncertainty is because we feel like we need to control every part of our lives. So
That's
so
me.
yeah, so obviously with the pandemic, never knowing what's going to happen, that triggers it a lot more, which actually is interesting because in actuality, we never really know what's going to happen
The
tomorrow. I
only
think,
constant is change.
yeah, I think the pandemic just makes it more obvious in some
Yes.
way, right? So I think it's important to really figure out what is within my control and what's not within my control, and to only really focus and work on the things that's within my control right now, because anxiety is often living too far ahead in the future, and depression is often, to me, like in very layman term, is living too much in the past, and yeah, and that's why. So I have to, and I mean, both are function. I mean, it's important to look back and learn and whatever, and it's also important to plan and whatever. But I think it's important also to balance that and realize I'm still in the present.
Yes, I'm still
Yeah.
here right now, and this needs
Yeah.
to get settled with before we can even think about the
Correct.
future, right? Or dwell too
Yeah.
much in the past so that nothing gets done now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I never thought of
Mm.
it that way. Yeah, anxiety is about, thinking about the future, and depression is, mostly living in. I mean, thinking about the past. That's such
Yeah.
a
Very very layman term, that like
yes,
just to help
the
people
surface.
understand. Yeah.
Understand, but it made me understand, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, so can I recap, just a quick recap
Mm.
of what you
Yeah.
just said, right?
Yes.
So to remember, the steps are to let go of what of things that we cannot control, and just to
Yes.
focus on things that we can control right now. So for
Yeah.
example, if I'm worried about, or tomorrow, I need to, let's see, go for a presentation, you know
Mm. Mm.
like work presentation, and that's something that I'm
Mm.
very kanchong about, something that I've
Mm.
been working very hard on, and I'm very, very
Correct.
anxious about it. Right. And then, is it fair to say that, okay, instead of being worried and anxious about that, or what the outcome will be, let's
Mm.
just focus on, do I have all my slides ready?
Mm.
Do I have all of my notes prepared? Things like that,
Yeah.
things that I
Yeah.
can control, instead of being worried about how other people will perceive my
Yeah.
performance and presentation tomorrow.
Correct, correct. Yeah, definitely. So
Uh,
that's focusing on like what I can do now, right? And what's within my control. I can only prepare this much. I cannot really anticipate all the questions that I'll be getting.
right.
And to really try to anticipate that. I think some people can, maybe, I don't know. But to try to anticipate every question, I think that might cause a spike of anxiety. You can try to anticipate some basic ones, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, like you said, just really focusing on like, have I done presentations before? Has it
Mm,
gone decent?
mm,
And therefore it probably means that I would probably be quite decent at this as well. I've done all
mm.
I can. Yeah.
Understand. Yay.
Yeah.
To put it into application, that's harder.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and another thing that wanted to go through with you, we
Mm.
have just a couple more questions, and I know that tomorrow is a working day, and I don't want to take up too much of
Oh,
your
it's
time.
fine.
So a couple more questions. So something that I felt just very, very recently, like
Mm.
oh, and I wanted to ask your opinion actually. So question here is, well, validation of all kinds of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So just very English speak. Okay, so with yes, feeling all kinds of emotions,
Mm.
acknowledging all kinds of emotions, it's important.
Mm.
But sometimes what I struggle with is, I'm so consumed by how I'm feeling and what's happening up here, that I have no control over my actions, and my,
Mm.
that, and it's just so hard to, yeah, I don't know if it's getting across.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So like if I'm feeling super anxious, I start freaking out and I feel like my mind is 100 miles an hour, heart palpitation, everything, right?
Right.
So how
Yeah.
do I maybe calm down first? Is
Yes.
that your question? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Calm down, and then so that my actions are, so that I know what to do instead of just dwelling inside and spiraling and spiraling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to first calm the system. So I think trying to do any like rational thinking when we are like way, in the fight of like response is hard. Like there's probably no rational thought going through. Um, I would often recommend like, taking a break. I mean, if you're in a situation that you feel like you can't take a break, you can always go to the toilet.
Mm.
Everybody needs to go to the toilet to 5 minute break, to do breathing exercises, relaxation techniques, so that your system kind of chill, like it
Yeah.
chills your system a little bit, and then only is it important to kind of really, how should I say this, sift through the thoughts that you're having, right? If you're
Compartmentalize it.
maybe more like make sense of it, I think, because maybe we, how sometimes we go from like 0 to 100. I get into a car crash, I go to like, oh shit, I hit another car, to die, or I'm like so
Die.
screwed, and it's just like it just escalates, right? But to calm myself down, right, breathing techniques, everything, and then to really ask myself like, is this really the end of the world, that is it really end of my world? Like, hold on, like, what can I do now? Is there someone I can call at the very least first, and
Yeah.
then to really again focus in the now, um to cope with what I have to do now,
First,
in that sense. Yeah, yeah.
I understand.
Because
So,
if we allow the spiral to happen, it will just be crying, save
oh yeah,
all, and yeah, just yeah,
die low, die low, die low,
yeah.
die low.
And just like, it's hard. It's hard. I acknowledge that. Yeah.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
one thing that I wrote here, and this is something that I truly, truly believe,
Mm.
not only for physical health but also mental health, prevention is better than cure. Does this work
Hmm.
for? So, in your opinion, does this work for mental health as well?
Um, I feel like there are two sides to this. I would
Mm.
like to say yes, because I think oftentimes, sometimes people wait until it's like, I cannot do it anymore. Then, I need a session now, now, now.
Right.
The first session, it probably isn't going to make you feel very good, because I'm just really getting to know you. So that's probably when I would say prevention is better than cure, because if you had come maybe, I don't know, before your 100th
Shit
panic
hits the
attack,
fan.
yeah, before shit hits the fan, at least we could have managed it. We could have like noticed patterns or whatever, right?
Right.
But having said that, I think sometimes life happens to you. So like if you're
Mm.
talking about, I got raped, or
Yeah.
you know
Death.
yeah, death and stuff like that,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
think that's there's no prevention for that, because we didn't anticipate for that. So
Right.
I think there's two sides to this saying in terms of mental health, for sure.
Understand.
Yeah.
Yes, to me, I know it's about time. Otherwise, I'll go like burnout, and like, no amount of vacations can
Yeah,
cure that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So also a bit of I guess you we, is it fair to say that as much as we can not rely, but like seek help from a
Mm-hmm.
professional like
Mm-hmm.
yourself,
Mm-hmm.
we also need to have the willingness, and I guess uh pour uh the willingness to help ourselves on the other end.
Oh,
Does that make
definitely.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
not
we
just
often,
yeah.
sorry.
So go for it, go for it.
I was going to say, we often have this saying, among therapists, like, we can lead a horse to water, we can't make it drink. Yeah, and I'm sure that's the same for education as well, right? I can teach, I can do my part,
If
but
you
you
don't
also,
practice.
yeah, yeah, and that's the same, right? Like we can go through going through sifting your thoughts, relaxation, whatever, in session, but I mean, you got to do it when shit hits the fan in the days that I don't see you, and to really test it out for yourself, right? Whether this breathing works, whether sifting through my thoughts work, whether whatever else we do in therapy works.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Oh, I
Yeah.
completely agree. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have a one last thing,
Mm.
one last question, and then I would like to do like a quick rapid fire because at the end of the day, this is still a music podcast, so I'm
Okay.
interested to know your
Sure.
music taste.
Okay.
So one last question, a
Mm.
message or an advice or tip that you'd like to send to the general public about the importance of mental health coming from
Mm.
a licensed and registered therapist.
Well, I think the message I would like to send is that mental health encompasses health, right? There's research that shows that if you're anxious enough or if you're super stressed, it affects your physical health. So, there's I'm not against exercising and healthy eating and whatever. I think all these go hand in hand. So I think it's important for people out there that, while you're attending to your physical health, other types of health, financial health, whatever, um, don't forget your mental health, because I really think that from it flows the rest of your capacity to do things day to day.
Yeah, to live life to the fullest, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. If I'm stressed a little bit, like my period is late. If I'm stressed a little bit, like, acne or like my tonsils, things like that. And for the longest time, I'm like, what's going on? Why do I
Mm,
get sick after like a busy period, that kind of thing?
yes, definitely.
And it's
Yeah.
from here and it manifests through my
Correct,
body.
correct. Because your fight and flight response, so your response to stress, it does suppress your immune system.
Oh no.
Fun fact. So, like, we need to be mentally healthy for everything else to be healthy.
Right. Or to be equipped enough to have the tools to help us
Keep
cope.
us, yes, in check. Yeah,
Yeah, keep us
definitely.
sane.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Then a little bit juicy stuff, right? Before we go into
Mm,
rapid fire. Have
yeah.
you ever said no to a client before? Like after a while, you don't see any
Mm,
progress, or that maybe the because for me, I've had to say no to a few students before because like or they've had to say no to me as a teacher because our
mm.
methods are not the same, our
Right.
our goals are not the same, that kind of thing. Have you
Okay.
had to do that? And how
I
did you go about it?
person. Oh, okay. I personally don't think I've said no to any client before. I usually am quite upfront with them. So if I do say no, I guess I refer them to someone else, because it's not within my capacity. So I don't really see that as saying no. I just feel like I want you to get the help that you need, right? And maybe I'm not the help that you need. So
Understand.
so I think that's important to keep myself ethical as well. So yeah, that's, I don't know if that constitutes as saying no.
No, that's actually better than saying no because you're not to say protecting yourself, you understand your limits, right? And then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are also at the end of the day helping that person get the help that they need
Yeah,
from
yeah, that's
someone
that's what I
else.
like to think. So yeah, but of course
Okay.
I've had clients who've like, I mean, like I said, therapy is very confronting. So no, I'm not blaming them, but I also have clients who like just ghost me lah, essentially, and it could be, it's just too overwhelming. So I guess that's them saying no to therapy, and me maybe, I don't know.
Would you take those ghosting ghosting personally or
I don't think personally, but I think it makes me ask myself, like, is there anything I could have done better? Do I feel like I've done everything I could? And if I feel like, if I've done everything I could, but if there's something I feel like I could have done better, then I should do it the next time, in that sense.
so
Yeah.
you take it constructively.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
everybody has different cups of tea, so that's fine.
Oh, definitely. I've had to learn that the hard way, as a musician with a thick face, right? And we had to face rejections constantly.
Wow, must be hard.
Ah, it comes with a job, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
they like ah, we'll get into it another time. This
Okay.
is too much.
Right. Right.
Okay, so rapid
Mm.
fire.
Mm.
Only five questions, and tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay, and I'll let you
Okay.
go after this.
Okay.
So, number one, top three favorite artists.
Top three favorite. I watched Of Monsters and Men.
Mhm.
I recently discovered Red Wimps. Um, I like this church music called Bethel.
Ooh, is it something like Planet Shakers or like uh,
Uh,
more
maybe
indie?
not as rock. Not as I
Yeah.
mean I used to be from Planet Shakers, so not as like hype as Shakers, a bit more chill, I guess.
Ah, understand some more. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, I'll check them out. Okay, number two, current favorite song.
Current favorite song. I've been listening to Dream Lantern by Red Wimps recently.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from a movie that I recently watched.
Ah, so you like the OST lah.
Yes, yes, yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, number three, one Malaysian artist that inspired you or that you like.
One Malaysian artist that inspired me or that I like actor, actress, painter. What are we talking about?
Yeah, any, as long as they're in the
Um,
arts.
in the arts. Wow. I don't know.
First one that
I
pops up.
I guess my friend Marianne Tan, I feel like she's she's really someone to look up to. I think she does her best in her industry.
Oh, what does Marianne do?
She acted in Ola Bola and she does like art. She does art. Yeah, she does like comic. So we did a collaboration as well for my page, and I think she draws really relatable and really like cute stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll definitely check her out. Shout out to Marianne. Okay, number four. Two more. What does music mean to you?
I think it sometimes puts words where it's hard to find words for. I don't know if that makes sense. Or even just music itself without words puts feeling into something more, can I say, tangible in that sense?
You can match your feeling to the music, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the voice for my feeling right now,
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
all the time. Okay, last one. An artist that you recommend to our audience.
Wow, an artist that I would recommend to our audience. I guess I really like battle music.
Sounds good. All
Yeah.
right. So that's it. That's the whole thing. Thank you so much, Ruth. This has been really,
Yeah.
really helpful and very
Thanks for
insightful.
having me. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Anytime. And hopefully we can do like a part two, like oh, what
Sure.
is CBT in its,
Oh,
yeah. Because I'm
sure.
I'm so like I love this topic, and I love, especially as I get into teaching more, uh, uh,
Mm,
I love how, it's like a challenge now. Like, what else can I do to make you listen to me? And not to say listen to me or help you learn better, that kind of thing, so that I can
mm.
use those tools. So I think music and psychology, it actually goes hand in hand. So the more I understand psychology, the more I'm able to, help and teach better. So yeah,
Mm.
thank you so much for tonight.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you all for listening. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends and family. And if you think you know people or you yourself need to reach out to somebody, please feel free to DM Ruth. I think we have her Instagram handle at Sit with Ruth on Instagram, so that you can reach out to her and go from there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So have a good night, everybody, and we will see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye.